topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello and welcome to our second episode, and we are going to have a real mindfulness in action with my dear friend and guest in this show. Her name is Katharina Mullen, and without any long introduction, for those who are in the mindfulness community, they really know Katharina very well. I have met her on my first meeting of EAMBA, the Earth Alliance of Mindfulness-Based Associations. And I will give her a space for her to introduce a little bit better herself, how she would like to be presented. But what I know about her is that she is the quiet power behind everything that is happening in the world of secular mindfulness at the moment. Within EAMBA, within the mindfulness world community, and amazing connector and mentor, and the person who is always going to serve with wisdom when things go tough. But in this episode, I would really like to invite Katharina to open up and share. How does she do that? Because I know that life is not going easy on her, especially in the past couple of years, and probably since I met you, Katharina. Welcome and thank you for agreeing to share your wisdom and your space and how life unfolds for you. So before we go into that, how would you like to present yourself? What would be one or two sentences where you say who you are and what you do? Because I know you do so many things.
Well, you gave me too many compliments already. I think that what I connect to most in my, what I define my identity as is, first of all, being a friend. I really want to be a friend to people. I love many people. One of the things that I still have to learn in mindfulness and compassion is to love all people. I do not love all people, but I love many. Many colleagues, researchers, activists, and I have a deep love for my family, the family that I was born into and the family that has come from me, from my daughter and my granddaughters. It's my priority to be a friend and a good family member. And that is where I find the purpose to do what I do. Really, that's my source.
Yeah. Sounds so simple. And I remember one of the first times when we talked one-on-one, and that's exactly what you said. Dalida, I want you to be my friend. That opened up everything. There is so much that we go through decision making, and we share spaces for each other. We cried, not once, a couple of times together for different reasons. And that friendship, I remember when I was saying, well, in my mind, friendship takes time. I can't just make a decision to be a friend. I have to deserve it. And what really touched me now when you said that you're learning how to love all the people. So tell me a little bit more about that. I know that mindfulness practice, kind of like deep at the core, brings that invitation. Can you share a bit more about that?
Yes. I think I would like to discern between that I'm not able, maybe yet, to love all people. And what you just said, that I aim to learn to love all people. I'm not even at that point. I have other priorities than to learn and love all people. There are so many people around me, and now in this digital age, also people that I can connect to the world around. I mean, it's so wonderful. I need to help a friend, and I sit and I think of someone, and I can write an email or WhatsApp or take the phone and just call up that person and say, "Look, I have a friend who needs this. Can you help?" It's for me, it's an incredible thing because I come out of the age where my parents had a phone connected to the wall. And if we wanted to make a phone call, we had to go to the wall and stand. If people wanted to call to the United States, because we had people living from us, American families, they had to call an operator. And an hour later, if they were lucky, there was a connection. That's all gone. We are so connected. And so it's not my priority to love all people. It might sound harsh, but there are enough people around me that if I love them truly, and also if I love them fiercely, because friendship, Dalida, for me, is not only caressing the other person, it is being able to show my deep friendship also by saying the things that I feel I need to speak up about, to be true to the values, and to not deceive a friend of consenting to everything. Which for me, friendship has those two sides: caressing, being laughing together, having joy together, but also being the person that is that brings so much love to the friendship that you can say things that can feel confronting, harsh, sad, but that in the end connect.
You mentioned something about that device, the phone attached to the wall. I mean, I grew up with that in a way as well. It wasn't on the wall, but it was in the corridor. Kind of like we had to go there and dial. And you said now that's gone and we are all connected. And at the same time, I know that loneliness is one of the big diseases happening in the world at the moment. And also my experience is when you have a friend, you're never alone. So what do you think of that? What is happening in the world that this connection, the ease of connecting is actually, is it causing loneliness, or is it that we don't know how to use it?
Not for me. I think that it is not causing the loss of connection. For me, although I know of many people that I could call when I'm lonely, that is not usually what I do. I stay with the loneliness. I feel it. I feel the loneliness. And it has become a companion. And not only loneliness because now my husband is in a nursing home, but even in the vicinity, being in a group, being close to a partner, a husband, a daughter, a granddaughter, a friend, I can feel lonely. So it's not due to a disappointment in the friendship or due to social media or whatever. For me, the loneliness is part of what I can feel always. And I remember that all my life, even when I was very, very small child, I remember loneliness, but I also remember connection. I lost my nanny when I was almost 5, and it was devastating. But I did remember the connection with her. She had to leave because my mother had caught her stealing. And I was too young to understand that. And then she took my favorite doll with her. And I was too young to understand why. So after she left, I felt really, really lonely. And I remember that well. So it is both. And then when I get out of feeling my loneliness intensely, and it's more often now because I also live alone in a big house, then I call a friend. But I do not put the whole devastating feeling on a friend. I might tell the friend, I felt lonely, but then the verb is past tense. And I want to enjoy with the friend. And I can also tell something about the loneliness to a friend, but not the whole casino. No.
How do you know when it's the time to call and when it's past tense?
I don't. there's just this moment when, like, either I kick myself, or there's a bird in front of sitting in the cherry tree, or maybe a beam of sunshine, or a raindrop on my nose, or I had a good espresso, and I think, well, let's call Dalida or someone. But it's and it can also be that it is becoming too boring. In like, I think it was in the Corona time that Adam Grant coined this term languishing. Maybe you remember he had a talk, maybe it was a TED talk or something, or he wrote an article. I don't remember what it really was. And he coined that term languishing, the term that would explain that you're aimless and like stagnant, empty, don't know where to go, which is for me very much connected with loneliness, that I just sit there in that mud and I seem to not be able to drag myself out of it. And then suddenly it becomes too boring. And I do something else.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is that there's something that draws attention, that, oh, this is boring, like espresso, or drop on the nose, or a sound of the bird. I mean,
I
like
also do tricks. So
yes.
like a few decades ago, I was in such a hole, and then I don't know why, but I told myself, what if I would do everything that I know and leave everything that I know I shouldn't do? And I remember it just dawned upon me that I got 1,013 possibilities. And I didn't have to do them all at once, but I would have 3 a day for a year without even repeating or something like that. And so I just remembered this abundance of choice. And then I started asking myself, how do I want to feel today? And I've used thousands of Post-its since then. I'm a big Post-it fan. So I would write a word on a Post-it and I put it in a pocket. Most of the time I wear clothes with pockets. So I put it in a pocket, and then over the day, I would touch that piece of paper and it would be a trigger to remind me. So over those years, my whole environment, all my context is full of triggers that take me out of languishing, that take me out of loneliness, that remind me of life is good. So I trigger myself to get out of it. Is that, am I making myself clear?
Well, it is clear to me. I'm beginning to understand, and I'm thinking, here is the interpreter in me is kind of like bringing this scenario. All right, you really need to have a lot of hardships in order to be so determined. Because when life is going well, something like this, like why would someone actually even think about having such a strong support? But there's something also that I'm just really curious. What is it in one's desire to go a certain way and stir not going in another direction? The closest for me, my experience is maybe when I was discovering the possibility to not be angry when I'm in the middle of anger, but to kind of like bring myself back and compose and decide how I'm going to go back to talking to that person. I'm still practicing that. I don't think I have such clear anchors, but there was something like so deep a seed where I had to plant it, this belief or this value maybe, that talking to another person in really in an angry way was just not something I wanted to experience. So that's how I'm interpreting. I'm kind of like projecting into my own experience and so on. So I'm wondering, what was what was there a moment when you had this birth of that idea that was just not a choice to dwell or to go sit in the mud too long, and that you just need to go? Or is that something you learned from the family? Or
I don't know whether I learned it from my family. If so, then it would have been by example from people who had that quality. But I think I've not learned it once. I've learned it again and again, going deeper and deeper. And also, I would not want to project the idea that I've only been lonely. I've only been sad. I've only coming out of it because in my life I've had years of immense joy, well, not years, but those moments of joy that, if looking back to a year, most of my years have been more joyful than sorrowful. Also, I think I catapult myself out of it because it is, I think it's a waste of my time to just stay there. And so, as you know me, I'm also joking all the time. I'm mainly joking about myself, finding funny things like the pieces of paper that I just told you about. They often contain something really that makes me laugh. So I think that laughing is really a very good way of kicking yourself out of a particular mood that is not helpful. And I don't remember really when I learned that, but in this millennium, I learned about anger, that I had a seminar that really inspired me, because it was about that life gets better when you ask yourself better questions. So I started asking myself better questions. And one of the questions that I started asking myself when I'm angry about someone: what if that person or me would die tonight and we would still be in that anger? So, what can I do to make the anger period shorter? And sometimes then the anger becomes laughable, or the jealousy becomes laughable, or any negative emotion really, really becomes laughable. And that's really helpful, because I see myself in a different light. Not so important, not so serious.
What happens when you are ready? For example, you go through that humor and so on, and let's say you connect with a person. Maybe we are angry with situation, maybe with the person it could be both ways. But when that person is in their anger, let's say both are angry,
Mm-hmm.
how do you? I assume you let go and you don't really push, but how that works for you then? So you manage to transform yourself, but the other person is really not moving on.
It's a fine line, because telling the other person that I want to let go of anger might increase the anger of the other person. Because what I've experienced is that then I now think of a concrete example. The person thought I was not paying enough attention. I was not taking his anger seriously and being humble enough. And the only thing I can do is my part. I can tell the person that I'm sorry for my part, and that I want to reestablish the relationship, because I don't think it's worth putting our energy into anger or whatever the negative emotion is. But then I need to let go, because I truly feel when a problem comes on my path, that's not mine. There's no problem in my life that I own. It's not mine. It is there, but I don't identify with the problem. I do want to contribute to solutions, but then also the solution is not mine. And this is also, you said I'm volunteering a lot. Yes, I've been volunteering for 50 years, but I do not think that the problem that I'm solving is mine. Neither is the solution. I'm just offering the solution for free to whoever wants it, the collective, the other person. And if the other person does not want to let go of anger or jealousy or betrayal, feeling betrayed, then I need to wait. It's not mine.
What is behind that? And I don't know if you can hear Hestia, my puppy, in the background. So I'm just going to kind of like...
She's joining our conversation.
She's joining the conversation. She wants to be noticed. And I just gave her her toy so that she can play with it. That sentence, "This is not mine," it became very visceral when I came back to Serbia, on understanding the impact of collective. And if we were to kind of like unpack a little bit that, what does it mean? It's not mine. For someone who has never come close to that, How would you share that wisdom?
Well, in mindfulness and in Buddhism, we have this experience that we are passing through. Well, actually, in many spiritual traditions, there's also this notion that we are passing through. And so this whole notion of impermanence is very connected to this. There is nothing that I own, not even my thoughts. Sometimes I think something and I think, where does that come from? I must be connected to the akasha, whatever they call this thing. But that's not my thought. It's and and then it also helps me to not be ashamed of a thought, because I can think something of another person and I think, oh my God, shouldn't think that. Okay, that's not mine. So see, there's also humor in it, but there is also a deep spirituality in it, because it liberates me of owning, to say it very practically, the trash. It's not, the garbage is not mine.
And coming back to what we talked, how we started the conversation. So on one side, there's friendship, connection, right? And on another side, there is this space of, finding humor to everything and just saying, this is not mine. And how does one balance that? I think that especially for someone who is not studying Buddhism or not maybe going deeper into the teaching, but it sounds so liberating to be in that space. For someone who is not into, even karma or, Akashi records and all of that, how can one balance these principles so that it brings ease into knowing when to connect and when to say, it's not mine?
How does one balance? Maybe I don't know.
That's probably a great answer. Is it situational?
That I balance?
Is it yeah, or is it the sensation in your body? Is it a value
Oh,
system
yeah.
that tells
Oh,
you?
yes. Oh, yes. I feel it in my body that when I to connect is a much more pleasant feeling than to tell someone I want to let go and the other does not want to let go, or to be in that mood of languishing, boredom, stagnation, or aimless, joyless, empty. I mean, sitting somewhere and having a to-do list. I don't even get started, and then suddenly something happens. And so, for example, I need to make a newsletter. Oh my God, it's a big thing, overwhelming. The only thing I do is one thing, like go to the application and put a name there and do the first line. Then I've got to start. It's like knitting. The first line of knitting is the most difficult one, and then you just knit. You just go on. It's like I don't want to walk, and I tell myself I only put on my shoes and I go outside and I go back in. But I don't, because then that first step, say, well, maybe I can do one more. It's what John Kabat-Zinn said. 50% of the formal meditation is to get your butt on the cushion. Now, I think that 80% of getting out of the mud is to just do one thing. one line, one move, one step. And then observe yourself and notice. Because the noticing for me, is the most important part of the whole mindfulness. The noticing. Because that's the moment when I can start laughing, when I can tell myself, okay, you got out of it. And the more often I notice, and these triggers that I have all around me, because I don't have persons in my living space, these triggers remind me, do that one step. There's this, I think it was Bette Midler or someone, who said, my life was good, my life was bad, good was better.
That's brilliant.
So I hope that my triggers, organizing my environment, and also my friendships in a way that these triggers can get me out of the emptiness, out of the void, out of the joylessness, that this is helpful. I have enough people around me that if I don't send a WhatsApp message, or if I don't open my front door, or if I don't call them, they call me. So in fact, they also trigger me. They answer, they give me friendship. It's not only me giving friendship, it's mutual.
That's so precious. It's such an important part of the whole picture as well. And that mutuality makes it balanced.
Yes.
Right? It cannot be the effort of only one person. And I think that there is maybe one trap for a lot of people who begin to practice mindfulness. Maybe it doesn't matter if it's at the beginning, but I worked with many clients who would come proudly and say, I'm in the toxic environment and I just kind of sit and dodge all the thoughts. And I asked them, but do you give feedback? Is it mutual? Do you engage other people? No, I just do my practice, until one day they come and say, I burn out. I cannot do it any longer. It's just becoming too toxic. And then what I observed also is that suddenly it becomes so frantic that none of the principles of the practice really guide them anymore. It's almost they've been trying so hard to put that mindfulness in the practice, but it was not genuine. Does it make sense? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've been in toxic environment, but not long, because I'm not anxious. I'd speak up. I've been in a holding company where all the holding staff was very anxious with the boss, the CIO, the CEO, and I came in last, and I was the only woman in the whole team, the only woman in the top management, and I just named it. And they were grateful, because actually my courage, which I didn't feel as courage, I felt as normal. I mean, if something is toxic, if the gas is open on your stove, or if there's no oxygen in your space, well, just open the door, open the window. I mean, what is so complicated? But I think we are often complicating life. It's not that life is not complex, but complexity is something we humans are made to understand, to master, to use mindfulness with, and then to give meaning with. Those are 3 M's that I always use when I work with clients, because they are so essential. But the mastery begins with very, very simple things. Speak up, drink water, move. Don't let yourself be bullied. No, a toxic environment is kept alive by us staying there. I've never stayed. And that maybe is also, I'm good at fierce compassion, but I'm not good at the loving everyone who's stealing, lying, um, excuses, not contributing, but harvesting the results of others. These kind of things. I mean, making a conflict, just making a drama. I'm not good at that. And maybe you said I was trying to learn that. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't.
Tell me more.
Well, I'm 73 now. I have the intention to live for 30 years. So I do everything to embrace my health, to get support, to be really healthy, mentally, physically. And people who lie, steal, who make wars, who quarrel, they don't have a place in my life because it's not healthy. And there are billions others. I put my effort there. So I move out when I don't like it. I've not always done that in the most effective way, but when I have not done it, I've learned tons of lessons from those things. So I don't waste a good catastrophe by not learning a thing. All catastrophes that I have lived through, I've learned.
And I remember also you mentioning earlier that you can't love all the people. Is that the people that you were referring to? Those who lie, steal, manipulate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let them be loved by others. I mean, I won't even manage the billions that there are. So, and this I do remember because when I was 40 something, I had a business partner and that didn't go well. And then I talked to a coach and I learned that there was really like this moments when something drops. I don't have to be friends with everyone. I can choose. I can choose. So toxic environment, you can choose. And you won't go under, even if you are in a partnership where you are financially or for your house or for everything, your insurances, you're totally dependent. Life gets better after the decision. Ask yourself better questions, and that's the solution. It's my, I think it's my whenever I've failed to know what to do, ask myself better questions.
What was the hardest lesson, you think, now that you can recall? Something you learned?
Betrayal. And betrayal comes in many forms, like people lying, talking behind your back, stealing. And the betrayal that I'm talking about was all of that. But it happens in small things as well, like people gossiping. That's betrayal. If you don't like what I do, then tell me. Let me talk. Maybe I change, maybe I don't.
So how did you go about it? How did you heal from it?
Well, first of all, I cut ties. Not immediately, I give a chance. But there's a certain DNA in the person that betrays. It's happening again. So Nowadays, I cut ties quicker. That's one. Second thing I learned is early warning signals, like harvesting your results. I had a manager reporting to me, and she started harvesting my results, gossiping behind my back. But of course, I noticed because I have friends, and friends are there to tell you, look, there's something going on there. So I don't only have friends recently, I've had friends all my life. And so friends are also there to give you early warning signals. And so, well, cutting the legs of my chair is very dangerous for the one who wants to cut the legs of my chair.
Yeah. I respond to betrayal. Like the opposite of betrayal is loyalty. I'm a dog in Chinese horoscope. It's a lot about loyalty and staying there. And then another aspect that kind of like came up just from the back of my mind as you were sharing all of this, because we mentioned anger, we mentioned betrayal and lying and stealing, and suddenly the word people pleasing came in. What do you think about that? It's another form of perhaps betrayal as well, but those who are using people pleasing as a way of manipulation, how have you experienced that in your life? Have you?
Look, you just mentioned loyalty. That is probably why I am so hit when betrayal occurs, because loyalty is, and it's connected to friendship, it's connected to family. It's a very, very high value for me. And if that loyalty is betrayed by someone making a face of pleasing, while that is only a mask of what is going on behind, and sometimes the people pleasers, they're only driven by fear of whatever, not being good enough, not meeting your expectations, fear of not getting what they want with greed, instead of connecting and making sure that we can collaborate, because we all are not enough to do the whole thing. But once we are humble enough to say, well, I can't do that well, but I can do that. So maybe we can share and we can put our resources together. Then, and that is what I actually think of a person that was a real people pleaser and that has become a friend. Telling her, look, it's not necessary. Let's collaborate.
How was that received?
Well, yes. Yes. The wall of pleasing broke down. Actually, that this was a real situation, a moment. And then things pivoted. But it was in private. I would never do that in public.
Of course. Right.
It's so important to know what to do in public and what to do in private. Because very often we expose a person, or something that also happened to me. I did something, I told a person in private to make sure that we could collaborate to solve something. And that person turned around and made that public. Well, then it's your choice. And I won't back down by saying I didn't mean it, because I meant it. When I say something, I mean it.
Yeah. You mentioned fears, compassion, and just recently I had a conversation with someone who reminded me that compassion without boundaries is not, or like people who are really deeply compassionate have one thing in common, and that is strong boundaries. And I really value that about you. Principles, boundaries, and then this open heart, and always being there and always really coming in and wanting to connect. It's so powerful to have that model for me in my life, and especially coming from a woman. I have to say I didn't have that many women as examples of these kind of actions in life. So I'm really deeply grateful. And just today there was our newsletter published, and there was this message about hope. So we just have just few minutes left before we finish, and I would love to hear what is your take on hope, especially at these times. And we talked about the personal life when it goes into the whole turmoil and how you're personally managing. But if there is a message of hope for the collective.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's one of the three M's. I said mastery, that you really must have skills, learn things, practice things. The mindfulness part, where we observe, we deeply inquire what is going on, and the meaning part. And hope for me is an essential part of meaning. I'm so inspired when I see the people of Minneapolis stand up, and they stand up not because they are creating community now. They can stand up because they have already created community before this happened. There are people all around the globe doing the things that are close to them, like oh, climate, conflicts, poverty, everything. Um, there's this book on factfulness that also has a website where you can look what is happening around the world, really facts, where people are stepping up, and based on hope, they take action. Because hope alone, yes, it's a driver, but hope must be, and I like the title of your podcast, it's Mindfulness in Action. Hope must also have an action component. Just hoping and sitting there doesn't do anything. It's the action that brings the change. And so, yes, I do believe that there is hope, and I see it. I see that people get fed up with things that do not inspire hope, that inspire greed and illusion. But hope is out there. We make it together.
Thank you so much for bringing this and inviting people to step out of the cushion and into the action. And what a joy to have you as the first guest of this podcast. Thank you for your wisdom, Katharina. This is Mindfulness in Action. My name is Dalida Turkovic, and see you next time.
Oh, I wanted to ask you a question.
I think there's you have 30 seconds.
I wanted to ask you about mindfulness in action and hope, because you have
Oh,
an excellent view on that. Please,
I
if you
think
have
this,
2 seconds.
I think this podcast is it, and I will certainly answer your question in one of the next episodes when I will talk alone about that, or
Very
maybe I invite you to interview me.
wonderful. Let's make an estafette interviewing. Thank you so much, Dalida. I really appreciate you as a colleague and as a friend. Thank you for your friendship.
Same here. Thank you so much.